Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for calling this hearing. Mr. Isaacson, if I could just start with you. In March of 2024, you wrote, "The murder of a nursing student in Georgia has a lot of people on the right talking about migrant crime like it's an actual issue." That'd be Laken Riley you were talking about?
Laken Riley was an unusual case.
Yeah, here, let's have a look. Here's Laken Riley.
Yes.
Her murder, her horrific murder at the hands of this illegal migrant who was also unlawfully paroled in the United States. Her death, not an actual issue?
It's a tragedy.
But not an actual issue?
Migrant crime is much less of an issue than U.S. citizen committed crime.
Not an actual issue? Those are your words. Her death, not an actual issue. I just want to get, no, you say.
Of course it's an issue. It's a tragedy.
So what do you mean by your
murder is an
post?
issue.
It's not an actual issue, meaning we shouldn't be paying attention to it. Senate's wasting its time this week on the Laken Riley Act that would address the circumstances of her murder. What's your advice to us? We just discontinue those proceedings now?
I think the Laken Riley Act could do a lot of harm. It would allow me to say, oh, this person shoplifted, and that would be enough probable cause to get somebody deported.
Interesting. You're here. Who invited you to this committee?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Conservative Chronicle. Senator Josh Hawley just took down a Democrat witness in one of the most intense Senate hearings we've seen in a while. This witness actually told senators that deporting criminal illegal aliens is a bad idea. Yeah, you heard that right. Hawley wasn't having it, and neither should we. Let's break down this insane moment, what it means for our immigration system, and why this debate actually matters. Stay tuned. It all started when Adam Isaacson, a Democrat-invited witness, wrote a post downplaying the brutal murder of nursing student Laken Riley. He literally said migrant crime is not an actual issue. Excuse me, what? Hawley confronted him, reading his own words back to him, and let's just say, it did not go well for Isaacson. You could feel the room tense up. Hawley wasn't just asking questions. He was exposing the absurdity of this argument right to Isaacson's face. Hawley did not hold back.
Hearing today, Mr. Isaacson.
The minority party.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're here as a spokesman for the minority party. I just want to make sure the record's clear on this. The spokesman for the minority party is advising the Senate that the Laken Riley Act is a bad idea and we ought to stop it. The spokesman for the minority party is saying that Laken Riley's death and migrant crime is not an actual issue. I can't frankly believe that I am hearing these words. You said it's not an actual issue. I read you the quote.
Laken Riley's death was not an actual issue.
You said that the murder of a nursing student in Georgia has a lot of people on the right talking about migrant crime. You put it in quotation marks, square quotes, like it's an actual issue. She's dead because of migrant crime, right? Let's try something else. Here, do you know who this is? Do you know who this young man is?
I do not.
Travis Wolf, 12 years old, from my state, murdered by an illegal migrant who was also, like Jose Ibarra, illegally paroled by the last administration.
Is your expectation that zero migrants?
Let me tell you what my expectation is that those who commit crimes in this country will be appropriately dealt with. Absolutely. And that we should not be allowing migrants who commit crimes into this country, and that, yes, migrant crime that kills people like Travis Wolf, whose death was shocking, whose death is inexplicable, indefensible. I actually do think, yes, I think it's an actual, wait a minute, it's my time, Mr. Isaacson. I actually think, and I want the record to be clear on this, that migrant crime is a real issue. I think the Laken Riley Act is absolutely necessary. In fact, I propose an amendment to the Laken Riley Act that will cover people like Travis Wolf. I think that ICE ought to be required to detain.
He grilled Isaacson on why he thinks crimes committed by illegal migrants don't matter. And get this, Isaacson doubled down, saying the Laken Riley Act, which would help deport criminal migrants, is too harsh. His reasoning? It could lead to deporting people for minor crimes like shoplifting. Are we really at a point where some people think shoplifting is just a minor issue? If you're here illegally and committing crimes, why should you get to stay? Hawley called this out, and it was intense. And it gets worse. Hawley then brought up another tragic case. 12-year-old Travis Wolf, who was murdered by an illegal migrant. This case didn't get as much media attention, but Hawley made sure no one in that room could ignore it. This is why this debate isn't just politics. It's about real lives.
Those illegal migrants who commit violent crimes against children, like Travis Wolf. And yes, I happen to think, as a former prosecutor, I happen to think that their violent murders are actual issues. And the fact that you would say otherwise, sit here and advise the Senate that the Lake and Riley Act is a bad idea, that the whole thing is not an actual issue, tell us what, made up, I think is outrageous. I think it's absolutely outrageous. And the fact that you were invited here to give this testimony is stunning to me, I have to say. Absolutely stunning to me. Mr. Kucinich, let me just ask you.
When illegal migrants commit violent crimes, innocent people. Yet, Isaacson and others act like it's not an issue. How does that make any sense? Let's be real. This isn't just about one Senate hearing. It's about the bigger issue of border security, crime, and whether politicians are actually working for you or making excuses for criminals. Now, if you're fired up about this and want to stay updated on stories the mainstream media won't cover, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. We bring the hard facts, the real debates, and the truth they don't want you to hear. So what do you think?
Something else that Mr. Isaacson has said is that the Remain in Mexico policy was a program of death. A program of death. Is that your experience, having seen it implemented? A program of death?
As part of implementing it, my answer would be no. It was quite the opposite. And as I said in my statement, that the deterrent effect for illegal aliens to come that was gained by the migrant protection protocols, Remain in Mexico program, prevented a lot more abuse, child abuse, abuse of women on the journey, and death along the way than any of the crimes that occurred addressed to the people where the people in Remain in Mexico were the victims. So anytime we have illegal immigration going on, we have victimization of that population. It would be my view, and I think the dollars play it out, especially as you've seen since 2019, that the idea that the cartels benefited from the Remain in Mexico program is relatively ludicrous compared to the alternative. And the alternative we've lived with the last 4 years has been the greatest enriching of the most evil, vicious people in the Western Hemisphere in the history of this hemisphere.
Yeah, I wish the Remain in Mexico program had still been in effect. When the killer of Travis Wolf crossed the border and was paroled illegally into the country, he might still be alive today. And if that's not an actual issue, I don't know what is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Should criminal illegal aliens be deported immediately, or do you agree with Isaacson that it's not an actual issue? Drop a comment below. I read all of them. And if you haven't already, like this video and share it with someone who needs to see the truth. That's it for today, but trust me, there's more coming. Stay tuned, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.